If a container is like a group, what happens if something is already a container? Can you nest them? Of course you can. Nesting containers provides some distinct advantages for what's called local referencing. We need to remember what local means in terms of containers. A local container is created within the same scene as the content. In other words, both content and container originated in the same scene. Plus, a local container can also have containers created elsewhere. This is what are called source containers. Source containers are containers that are inherited into the scene, and we're going to be inheriting some containers here in a second. Local content also gives you the ability to save and close a container. This is how you create a container or a max.c file. So yes, new containers can include other containers inherited from other sources. So here's our table, and let's inherit the container for the place setting. So we'll go ahead and do containers, inherit container, and we'll bring in the container for the place setting. And you'll notice that the container can't actually be opened. So if I zoom in on it and I select the container itself, you notice that I don't actually have the ability to open the container. This is an indication that the container is inherited from another source, meaning it was not created in this scene. Now let's go ahead and position it. So I'm just going to use my align tool, and I'm just going to align it right to the table. And we'll just adjust that a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and make some copies. So let me rotate it here and position it over right there. And we'll just go ahead and make some copies. Now, whether I choose copy or instance, it really doesn't matter because containers are referencing the same source file that was defined when we inherited the source content. So regardless of which container I click on, you'll notice over here on the Modify Command panel, it says placesetting.maxc. So it's pointing to the same source definition regardless of whether it's a copy or an instant. So now that we've made our copies, let's show you how local referencing can be used to affect multiple containers within the same scene. Now, you'll remember that we talked about local at the beginning of this video, and what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these source containers, meaning the source definition is inherited from someplace else, and we're going to make them local to the scene. Now remember, since I can't open the container, I can't actually edit the information that's in the container. So before we do this though, let's go ahead and turn on auto update so that we can see our changes propagate through the scene. Over here on the first container, we are going to choose make all content unique. Now as soon as we do that, you'll notice that the source definition, or the source definition window is gone, and this has been changed over to local content, which means that the information for this, these models, the 3D models itself, the data itself has been brought into the scene. And these objects now reside into the scene. You'll notice that I can select them, I can edit them, I can move them around, I have complete access to them. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab a couple of, make a couple of simple changes. So I'm going to go ahead and delete maybe one spoon here. I'll grab an Xform modifier and just do a quick edit. We'll do a quick scale here, just to kind of change the size of the glass a little bit, maybe shorten it and reposition it a little bit right there on the tabletop. Maybe we'll grab the fork over here and we'll just reposition it to make it, you know, look a little more organic. Do the same thing with the spoon here. So just a couple of slight changes there. And so now what we've done is we've made changes to this one container over here. And it is now seen as a local definition, meaning, again, all the data resides in the scene. Let's go ahead and save the local definition. And so what we'll do is we'll go over to where our max.c files are. You'll notice that it's a max container file. And I have the place setting. I have a copy of the place setting, which I've done previously because we're about to write over the original one. So I'm going to say place setting. Okay, you'll notice down here it says max.c. Let's bring this back up so you can actually see it. There we go. Place setting.maxc. We'll say save. Yes, we'll replace it. And as soon as we do that, you'll notice that the other place settings immediately updated within the scene. So this is how we can quickly reference material that's in our scene multiple times. We only have to make a couple changes here, and the changes are propagated down the line. So now that we understand that we can change a container's, what is actually seen in a container by changing the definition file, we can really use this to our advantage. So I'm going to go back over here to our first container, and let's make a couple of more edits. So we have our place setting here, maybe one, instead of a kind of a short and fat glass, let's go ahead back to our gizmo and scale it, and we'll do a really skinny fluted type of glass. We'll move it around a little bit there. Maybe there's even two glasses in there. Maybe this setting doesn't have the bowl. Maybe there's only one fork here as well. Just some very obvious changes. So now when we go back here, when we do the save local content, we'll do save as. Okay, and we'll go back to our place setting scene, and we'll call this place setting, but we'll add another description here. So we'll do place setting, version 2. Okay, so this is place setting version 2. Maybe we'll go ahead and we'll bring the bowl back in, and we'll delete the glasses altogether, and we'll reposition the bowl outside and put it right there. And we'll go back to this container, and we'll call this, go back to our location, we'll call this version 3. So now we have 3 different Maxc files that are saved elsewhere. Notice they haven't been propagated here because the definition file contains place setting Maxc. But now we have the ability to use proxies. Right now there's no proxy, which means it's just using the source definition that's being piped in. But if we go ahead and choose definition file, we can start selecting all the different versions of the Maxc files that we've created. So we'll just choose add, and we'll add version 2, and we'll go ahead and add version 3, and we'll go ahead and close it. So now on this container, I can choose from any one of these versions of the source definition. So I can say version 2 on this one, and if I want to over here, I can change the definition file to version 3, and we can swap back and forth between these as many times as we want. And if we copy these containers, that will also occur. So for example, if I'm going to go ahead and copy this one because I have the most definition files in there, I'm going to go ahead and choose this container, and we'll go ahead and make a copy of it. And going with it goes all of the definition files, so I can change those out at any time. So you can see that using proxies is a really fast way to bring in multiple versions of your data. Once we have all the containers where we want them, we can actually select all the containers, and we'll go to the Tools menu, Containers, and we'll create a container from a selection. And this creates a new container that now has all of these containers nested within it. Once we close the container, so for example, right now there is no save local definition. It's just in the scene, and the other containers are part of it. So let's go ahead and save a local definition here, and we'll call this the setting master file container, and we'll go ahead and close it. And now we have basically a set of place settings that we can position anywhere in the scene, and we can change out the source definition, or we can add a proxy, or we can do whatever we want to propagate our changes down the pipe. Understanding the ripple effect of the source definition has on containers can allow you to quickly build massively populated scenes and swap out any content that you want to change with minimal work.